Hello and Happy New Year. Well, 2021 was a really fantastic year for Ruby on Rails with the release of Rails 7 that doesn't rely on Webpack anymore, and with all the advancements in Hotwire Stimulus and Hotwire Turbo. And in this episode, we're going to add the turbo streams so that we can autocomplete search in a Ruby on Rails application. So here, for example, I've got a big list of posts, and here I've got a search form, and whenever I type anything, you see it gets auto-completed. So we've got the autocomplete search that is really easy to add to a Ruby on Rails application without any additional JavaScript dependencies. Well, let's try to do it. And we're going to do it on a new Ruby on Rails application. So here I've created a new empty Ruby on Rails application. Let's have a look at it. You see, and we're going to add a list of movies that we are going to be able to search and autocomplete search to find the right movie we are looking for. So let's start by adding a list of movies. I will say Rails generate scaffold movie. A movie is going to have a title that will be a string. Okay, let's say Rails db migrate. And we're going to make the root path lead to movies. So root movies index. Okay, now Rails server, let's look at our movies. So the root path leads us to movies. Now let's make it look a bit more beautiful in the UI. So I will add the simple CSS, this script to our application HTML ERB. And our empty movie database looks much better. Now let's populate it with some movies, and to populate our movie database, I'm going to use the gem faker. So you see this gem faker provides us with a list of, let's say, of around 200 movies that we can use in our Ruby on Rails application. So I'm going to go to our database seeds and run the command movie.create with a title that will be a faker movie title, and we'll do it 100 and let's say 50 times. Okay, and let's make these unique. So I will say faker movie unique dot title. Let's see if it works. I will go to the console, Rails console, and say faker movie unique title. Okay, yeah, it doesn't work because I didn't actually add faker to our gem file. So I will say bundle add faker. Okay, so I wrote bundle add faker, and it should have added the faker gem to our gem file and run bundle. Okay, looks good. Now again, I will go to the Rails console and run faker movie unique title. And you see it gives me lots of random unique titles. And I will also add some validations to our modal. So going to our modals, movie, and I will say validates title presence true and uniqueness true. Okay. And now we can actually run our seeds. So let's say Rails db seed. And it's going to last for a few seconds. And let's see if we have actually added these movies to our database. I will run the Rails console and say movie.count. Okay, you see we've got 150 movies in our database. Exit and start the server. And if I refresh, you see we've got a list of 150 movies. This is quite good. And now let's actually add a search field. Now a search field will have to belong to a form. So I'm going to go to our views, our movies index, and I'm going to add a new form. So we'll have a form with that will have a URL, and that it will have a search field. Now we're going to need a search URL. So we're going to go to our roots and define a new URL to a search action in our controller. So it will also be inside our resources movies. I will say resources movies to collection do. Now we're going to do it on a collection, but not on member, because we're not going to pass a movie ID in our controller. We're just going to pass all the movies. Collection do, and we'll say post search. Now you could also want to make search a get request, but for using turbo streams, we need it to be a post request so that we can send an update with a turbo stream. If you want to use turbo frames, you can use get requests, but we're using turbo streams here. So it's going to be a post request to search. And let's have a look at our roots now. I'll go to /roots, and you see we have our search movies path that has to be a post request. So let's create a form that will lead to our URL search movies path, and the method will be post. Now do form, and we'll have an end statement, and inside this form we will have a form.search field, and we're going to pass some kind of param. Let's say title search. Well, we can pass any param we want, but in the controller we're going to say that we're going to search for the title. Okay, let's see if the form gets rendered. So going back to our index page, here we have a form, and when we submit, well, nothing really happens because our controller action search movies path doesn't actually exist. So let's add this controller action. I'm going to go to controllers, movies controller, and add a new action def search. And okay, and we're going to pass our params title search. So we will have some kind of params title search that we're going to pass in, and we're going to respond not with format HTML but with format turbo string. So we will say respond to do format, and then format dot turbo string, and we'll again say do and render turbo stream, and we will say turbo stream dot update. So we're going to send a request to update something on our page. So we're going to update a div with some kind of unique ID. Let's add this div with a unique ID. I will say div ID search results. Okay, so we are going to send a TurboStream update request that will update the search results with the, well, let's just pass for the beginning our params. So we are just going to send the HTML params title search. Let's see if this works. I will refresh. Now here I do have an empty div ID. Let's say search results so that we see this div. If I inspect the element, we have this div ID search results, and yeah, the text search results. And let me add something in the form and click enter, and you see it is updated with these search params that I pass in. Now I don't have to click enter each time. Let's say that we will automatically submit the form on input. So I will say on input, and I will say this dot form dot request submit. Let's see if it works. I will refresh, and I will say hello. Now it didn't seem to work. So on input, this form request submit. I should add these gaps here. Let me refresh, and hello world. You see, each time I type something inside this search form, I send a TurboStream request. So if I open our network tab, I will say, you see, each time I type anything in, we send a TurboStream update request to the target search results, and we update it with the params that we sent in the controller. So we updated with this params title search. Alternatively, we can do it with the like time zone now, for example. Let's say we will send time.zone.now. Let's see. You see, each time I type something, I get the time zone when I type this. But instead of this, we want to actually send a list of movies based on the params title search. So let's find the movies that contain our title search. How are we going to do it? We will have add movies equals movie.where, and here we're going to have a search query. And we're going to search for movies where the title contains the params that we pass inside the form. So we'll say movie where title I like, then we're going to pass so percent, and inside the percent we're going to have params title search, something like this, I think. And now let's try to see if it works. Let's pass the movies.count here, movies.count. So you see, we've just written a basic query where we search for the title, for it to contain anywhere inside the title, either on the beginning or the end or the middle of the title, whatever we pass in this form. And we are going to send a TurboStream request to update the search results div with the quantity of movies that we found here. So let's see if it works. I can refresh and say star balls. And well, it seems to have found 9 results. Okay, let's see if these are actually 9 results with just search star balls. Yeah, we do have 9 results here. So looks quite good. We managed to show using TurboStreams the quantity of search results. Now let's actually render them. How can we do this? Well, let's add a separate partial that we're going to TurboStream. So at the moment, we're just TurboStreaming some HTML, and we're going to instead TurboStream a partial. So let's add a partial named search results.html.erb. And inside this partial, we can add anything we like. For example, we can add the equals movies.count and iterate through all the movies. Let's say movie.each do movie. And we will say equals movie.title and say end. Okay, and how do we reach this partial with our TurboStreams? Well, instead of just rendering some HTML, we will say we will render a partial with the path of movies/search results. Let's make it on a new line, and we will pass some locales. And in the locales, we will say movies equals add movies. So we are going to update this div search results with the partial movies/search results. And we're going to say that the local variable for movies is add movies, the one that we found here. And let's see if it works. So again, I will refresh and say star. Okay, it doesn't work. Undefined local variable movie. It should be movies here. Let's see once again. I refresh and say star. And you see we have the list of these Star Wars movies there. And also looks good. So the autocomplete kind of works. Now let's just make it look a bit better. So I will add a break so that each search result is on a different line. Again, Star Wars. You see we have 9 results. And well, looks beautiful. And whenever I type anything, you see the results are being updated. Okay, let's actually highlight the search results that we find. So we can also do it quite easily. We will add this highlight attribute, highlight, and we're going to highlight the movie.title with the params that we pass here. So with the params title search. Something like this, I guess. And let's see if it works. Again, I can refresh and I start typing stuff walls. And you see the search results have been highlighted. So as for me, it looks really beautiful. Okay. And yeah, this is basically autocomplete search using turbo streams. What did we do? We've just added an empty div with ID search results. We've added a search form. We've added the on input submit. So whenever we add anything to the form, it gets submitted and it goes to the search action in the movies controller. And in the search action, we find the movies that fit our query and send it to a stream with these movies to our div. So works quite easy, but we can actually improve it a bit more. First of all, let's just move this search form into a separate partial. So I will add the partial named search form.html.erb and move it there from index. So I'll have this partial with our search form that we can actually embed anywhere in our application. And in the index, I will just render this partial. I'll say render posts, movies / search form. And this would be a better way of rendering the search form again. So works well. Let's actually make these links to these movies. So you see now we have just these movies, but these are not links. I will say in the search results, it will be a link to the highlight and comma movie. So again, now these are all links. So I can open any of these links and go back to movies. So yeah, autocomplete looks and works really well, but there are more improvements we can make. For example, you see if I remove all the search results, then we have the list of all the movies, and it is not something we want. So I will go to our movies controller, and yeah, let's say that if this param is present, then they're going to perform the search. Otherwise, they're going to return an empty array. Let's say if params title search dot present, then they're going to return the movies. Otherwise, they're going to return at movies equals an empty array. So that when we have an emptied search input, we don't return any movies. And you see, now it works. So I put something into search, I remove everything, and we don't return any results. Looks much more correct in my opinion. And to make it even better, we can move our search query from the controller into the modal. So I can go to our movies modal, movie.rb, and let's try to move this into a scope in the modal. So here we have our movie.rb, and I will add a scope filter or search by title, and I will add a lambda. We are going to pass in the title, and we're going to say where title I like, and here we're going to pass title. So we are going to put this inside our search scope, just the bare clause, and we are passing our title here. And now we can go to our movies controller, and instead of this query, say movie.filter by title, and we're going to pass our params title search like this. Let's see if it works. I will refresh, and you see it works, but we've cleaned up our controller a bit and created a scope in our model. So this approach is more correct. But to make it even better, we are going to add a tiny bit of stimulus. So at the moment, inside our search form, whenever we input something, we have this form request submit. So there is no input delay. And if a user, starts typing a word, we make 3 different requests for the letter T, for the letters TH, and for the letter E. So we don't want to always make so many requests. We can limit this by adding a delayed submit. So we're going to submit after every half a second after a user inputs something. That way, while a user is typing, we might be able to make not 3 requests, but 1 request to the controller. So how we're going to do it? We are going to add a new stimulus controller. Let's go to JavaScript, controllers, and say we will add a controller named debounce controller.js. Now let's copy everything from hello controller. We will say on connect, we will say console.log debounce controller connected. Okay, and let's see if the controller actually works. I will add it somewhere. Yeah, I will initialize the controller here. I will say div data controller debounce. And whenever our search form is initialized in the page, we should have a console log that the debounce controller is added. So I will refresh. And you see we have this debounce controller connected. So the controller kind of works, but it doesn't do anything yet. So let's add some action. The action is going to be search. And let's say, so braces, they're going to have a timeout. So we will say, first of all, clear timeout. And next we'll have this dot timeout. We're going to set timeout. Okay. Now let's see. So set timeout, and we'll say this dot form target. So we're going to add a target on our form and then request submit and close this braces, and a delay will be like 500 milliseconds. Now this might work. Am I forgetting any braces? Let's see. I will remove this brace, so it should kind of work. And I'm going to add a target. So I will say static targets equals form. Okay, so we have our form target. We're going to submit this form target, and we need to add a target to our form. So let's go to our form, to our search form, and we will comment this out for now and add a new form. And to this form, we will add some data attributes. So I will say data controller debounce. So we will initialize the debounce controller on the form. We will remove it from here. Okay. And we are going to add a target. So I will say comma debounce target will be form. Okay, so we've added the debounce controller to our form, and we've said that the debounce target is going to be on the form itself. And instead of this search field with on input form request submit, we are going to add a data attribute. So data, and I will say action, and the action will be input, and we will say, we will go to the controller debounce and search. And I can remove this now. Okay, so you see, instead of using this UJS-like thing, this form request submit, instead we are adding the stimulus controller debounce. We've added the target that we're going to submit. And whenever we input anything in this field, we're going to go to the debounce controller and the action search. And the search action is going to set a timeout, like 500 milliseconds, and then submit. Well, let's see if this actually works. I will refresh. Again, we have the debounce controller connected. I will try searching. And we get this error. Defined is not an object. Evaluating this form target, request submit. Let's go back. I might have made a typo here, targets. Let's try once again. I start typing and it works. And what is the difference? You see, the results don't come that fast, so they are not instant, but on a big application, it is going to be good because you're going to just send fewer requests to the controller and fewer chances for you to be DDoS. Anyway, we've quite easily added the quite advanced autocomplete functionality to a Ruby on Rails application. And just as additional topping on the cake, we've added the stimulus controller where we don't directly submit our form on input, but submit it after some kind of period of time. Anyway, if you don't want to add the stimulus controller, you can just use this on input form request submit instead, and not increase the complexity if you've got quite a small application. So, to summarize what we've done in this episode, we have added the autocomplete search to our application. We've got a big list of movies, and whenever we type anything with a small delayed submit, we get a list of movies that satisfy our search results. So, in my opinion, it looks really well, and it is really lightweight solution that works perfectly thanks to Hotwire turbo streams. And again, this, what I'm showing now in the controller, is the core of what we've done. We send a turbo stream that updates a div with a partial. Well, that's it. Thanks for being with me, and enjoy coding in Ruby on Rails 7.